Elayne Trakand. What to say about Elayne Trakand? This is a video I've been working on for a while because it's hard for me to distill my thoughts about Elayne. The last video I think that I had going around in my brain for about the same amount of time was my Egwene video. But the reasons for these two videos taking so long and so being so hard for me to make are kind of opposite. My feelings about Egwene are complex and nuanced, whereas my feelings about Elayne are, well, they're barely there, to be honest. I hadn't even thought about making a video about Elayne until a member of my Discord recommended her as a topic, because they had recently encountered a lot of Elayne hate on Reddit. And when I read that on my Discord, I found myself going, really? Elayne hate? I'm honestly shocked to hear that people hate Elayne, not because, I think that she is universally beloved, but I'm just shocked to hear that people have strong feelings about her at all. But okay, before I continue, did you happen to see my new logo? My friend Shansony made it. It's amazing. And if you like it, it's on merch now. You can wear it on a shirt if you like, or, get it on a mug, or a fanny pack, because I'm crazy like that. Or by any chance, do you happen to have the sense of humor of a 5-year-old, like I do, and think this duty meme is funny? Have you seen this gorgeous version of the duty meme, also made by my friend Shansony? You can have this on a shirt as well, or on a mug, as you like. Links to my merch stores will be in the description below. So, okay, let's get back to Elayne. Oh, but before we do, spoiler warning, big time. This video is going to contain spoilers through to the end of the series, the final book in the Wheel of Time. So if you haven't finished the series, as always, it's up to you, but if I don't want to ruin the series for you, turn away now. Come back when you're done. And if you have finished, let's jump into it now. Elayne is just a hard character for me to talk about because I really just don't think about her all that much. I have literally forgotten her name when discussing relevant plot lines that she's involved in. That's how little of an impression she has left on me. But here's the thing. I actually like Elayne. I think of all the female characters in the books, she would probably be the easiest one to get along with. She's kind, she's intelligent, she's got a sense of humor, she's loyal, she's pragmatic when she needs to be, and so on. I don't find her storylines offensive or boring. I mean, the Succession storyline isn't my favorite, but I don't hate it. It's fine. It's meatloaf, It's perfectly fine, even enjoyable, but I just don't think about it when it's not right in front of me. But weirdly enough, when trying to think of her for this video, the very first thing that came to mind was something about Elayne that actually does really bother me. And it bothers me a lot, if I'm honest, but only when it's in front of me, like when I'm reading it. When I'm not reading it, I don't think about it. And what it is Elayne's attitude towards Galad. This is a personal issue for me, I will grant you. I have two half-sisters, who are my favorite humans on the planet. And I completely think of them as my sisters, and I get annoyed when people feel the need to split that hair and be like, oh, but you're half-sisters. It's like, fuck you, no, we're sisters. And Elayne's whole, he's not my real brother, it drives me insane. And I wish that RJ had just had Elayne just not like him. And, talk about him that way instead of having her disown him, despite the fact that they share a father. And hell, you know what? Even if they didn't, even if they were, not biologically related, if they didn't share blood, they were raised together. They are family. She is being super petty and immature, and it angers me, and it actually makes me feel bad for Galad. Honestly, Galad, he's a character actually that you are likely to overlook on your first read through to the series, but he becomes much more interesting when you think about him and think about what we know about his background. Like, his mother ran off and abandoned him, and actually from Galad's perspective, his mother just disappeared. Does anyone? No. Rand knows, but did Rand tell anybody? Yeah, for the rest, Galad has no idea. His mom just disappeared. Then his dad marries a woman just to, gain status, and then his dad is murdered by Tom, again, something he probably doesn't know. And then his baby sister, who would eventually be his queen, just decides that she hates him. His life has been a hard one. The fact that he is at all a decent person, it just says so much about his character. Okay, this is not a Galad video. But if you want to watch a great Galad video, you should watch this video on the Dusty Wheel where they go into RJ's notes on Galad. It was a fascinating deep dive into his character and who he could have been and who he ended up being. But again, Not a Galad video. This is an Elayne video. So, back to Elayne. Elayne is to me very likable. She's kind. She's an intelligent woman, but she's not exciting. She doesn't have anything extreme or unique to me in any way that makes her jump off the page at me. There's nothing in her character for me to latch onto or identify with, or even to be repelled and annoyed by. She's just nice, and she's there. But I'm repeating myself. Okay, so if I try and look into Elayne as deeply as I have other characters that, I'm more invested in, she's essentially a princess, right? So she, is likely very, very sheltered. In the video where I talked about romance in the Wheel of Time, I mentioned that her and Rand's sort of whirlwind romance makes sense to me in light of this fact. Rand is likely the very first non-noble man that she's gotten a chance to interact with, at least not without extreme supervision. So it makes sense that, even before she does eventually meet him in The Dragon Reborn, like really meet him, that she would be a little bit obsessed with him. And, when she does eventually meet him, that she would become infatuated with him so very quickly. That seems logical to me, based on what we know about her. Their relationship, however, if you can call it that, there are 3 days of making out in The Dragon Reborn. They have like one night of sex, and then just the rest of the book's just randomly, occasionally thinking about each other. It never really read as them being in love to me. There's just not enough there for that, in my opinion. But the passion with which she thinks about him, like their sort of high school adolescent infatuation, it just sort of speaks to me of her innocence and naivete. Even the fact that she writes him those 2 contradictory letters, the second of which is hilariously inspired by watching, she watched Lan and Nynaeve make out, and then she wrote him this second letter. It's so... It reminds me of like the, relationships, and big old air quotes here, that I remember from middle school, like seeing these couples that would like manufacture scandal and drama to make things more exciting. That's what that feels like to me. And it's irritating and it's annoying, but it totally fits in with my impression of her extreme innocence when it comes to relationships. Now, in talking about Elayne with some friends, some Discord friends, another plug for Discord, it was pointed out that this innocence and naivety with relationships doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. Growing up as she did in the palace, it's very likely that she didn't grow up with a lot of friends. So this might explain some of the girlish delight and that she takes in making friends, and the giggly way that she is sometimes with the friendships she does make throughout these stories. I think it could also explain some of her peacemaking tendencies. We see her playing peacemaker between Egwene and Nynaeve a lot, especially early on. And I think this might, also be a byproduct of her training in diplomacy, but it also could be her wanting to preserve the friendships that she has made so far. Speaking of her training, this is something I actually do really appreciate about Elayne, and I think it's undervalued by those around her, and by me, if I'm honest, because I just don't think about it and her very much. But because of who she has been groomed from infancy to be a leader, and because of this, in a lot of ways, she is the most even-keeled of all of the main characters in these books. All of our main characters are, at one point or another, thrust into positions of authority and power, and Elayne is the only one who has even a semblance of training in that regard. She is, therefore able to look at things with a little bit more clarity than the others. She makes political decisions. She's able to detach her emotions from her decisions and make smart decisions because of that. She doesn't take offense easily because she knows, that it's not necessarily a leader's job to be liked. She knows how to delegate, and importantly, she doesn't assume that she knows what she doesn't know. She trusts the people that she delegates to. Basically, she's just got a good head on her shoulders, at least when it comes to being a good leader. But when you take her out of that leadership role, her innocence and naivety come back into play, big time. I've talked about this before, but I give Gawain a lot of shit for the dumb decisions that he makes, and I'm not going to stop. He drives me insane, but he's not the only one. When not making decisions for others, when not making decisions as a leader, Elayne is extremely impulsive. And if I try to break this down, I think this might also have roots in her sheltered upbringing. As the daughter heir, she was protected. She literally had guards following her around to make sure that she didn't get into danger, to, protect her from herself. Now that she's out in the world, she still feels like she's invincible, that no harm can come to her, and so she makes really dumb decisions. For example, they join the circus in order to hide, and Elayne eagerly dives into becoming part of the main act instead of lying low. She sees Aviendha unravel a weave, and despite everyone telling her how hard this is and how most people can't even do it, and the fact that the Aes Sedai don't even try, she tries it. Despite everyone telling her that she shouldn't put herself in danger during the last battle, she hinges everything on Min's viewings about her babes, and she just puts herself in danger over and over and over again. She makes dumb decision after dumb decision, and it's dumb luck that her dumb decisions don't have more dire consequences. No one of importance sees her in her tight pants up on the tightrope. The unraveling of the weave doesn't kill or still her or anybody that she knows and cares about. And it also leads the Shan-Chan to think that the Aes Sedai have a super weapon. The most worst possible consequence that she did get was Birgitte dying as a result of her being foolhardy, during the last battle, but that's immediately undone. Birgitte's actually better off after she dies because she's back in Tel'aran'rhiod, she's got her memories back, and she's ready to be reunited with Gaidal Cain. Elayne is pretty much as lucky as Mat when it comes to actually, avoiding negative consequences of her dumb decisions. But much like Mat, I find this to be kind of charming, to be honest, and so I don't hold it against her. And while I do make a link between her making these repeated dumb decisions and Gawain's repeated dumb decisions, I don't find Elayne's decisions infuriating. Her decisions line up with her character and they make a kind of sense. There's an internal consistency and logic to them. And so while I hope that she grows and matures out of it, I don't see it as an insurmountable failing. They are just the impulsive decisions of a literal sheltered princess. Now, when I do think about Elayne, which admittedly is rarely, there is one thing I actually find myself thinking about, and that is her friendships. As I said at the beginning, I think of the female characters, Elayne would be the easiest to get along with. I think she just makes a really great friend. And I'm most interested in her as a person when I see her relating with the other women in the books. Her friendship with Aviendha is the one that most people focus on, and for good reason. Their friendship is fantastic. I personally never shipped them as a couple, but I can see where people do, and if you remove Rand from the picture completely, I'm more open to it. They have great chemistry together, and it could work both romantically and platonically. Although, okay, as an aside, I do find people equating the first sister ceremony with a wedding to be hella gross. Like, that ceremony is literally a rebirthing ceremony. Through the one power, they simulate being literal biological sisters in the same womb. I hope no one is equating being biological siblings with romance, because, ew. But anyway, okay, I love their friendship. I love how, despite her upbringing, Elayne is able to see people for who they are, to accept them as equals. Another friendship of hers that I really enjoy, and that I think gets undervalued or doesn't get discussed very much in the fandom, is her friendship with Nynaeve. They are an odd couple. No, they're like the odd couple, from the 60s, that sitcom that most of you are probably way too young to remember. But whatever, they're opposites who work together really well. And as much as I love my girl Nynaeve, I think that the reason they are able to work together so well is entirely because of Elayne. Elayne is the one who reaches out and is able to meet Nynaeve where she's at. She's the one who's able to stretch herself to meet Nynaeve. Nynaeve doesn't do that. Maybe later on, as Nynaeve grows and matures, she'll be able to do that. But at this point, that's not where she's at. But Elayne does it. And because of that, they have this great partnership. But more than that, they have a real friendship. Elayne is able to see past Nynaeve's gruffness and see the see the wisdom, in Nynaeve. I would actually even say that despite the fact that Nynaeve and Egwene have known each other for much longer, Elayne has a better understanding of who Nynaeve is than Egwene does. Elayne is able to see her, see past the surface, and see the truth of who both of these women are. And it's because of her that their relationships are able to flourish. And I really do appreciate that about Elayne. It is interesting, though, to me that my favorite thing about Elayne is not so much her, but her relationship with other characters. When I was talking about this with some more Discord friends, I mentioned like my weird meatloaf metaphor, and one of my Discord friends said, yeah, that makes sense, because meatloaf is interesting because of the sides. And that's true. Elayne is meatloaf. And I like meatloaf, really. But if you gave me a meal of just meatloaf, it wouldn't be very good. But put some mashed potatoes, some green beans, hell, give me some ketchup. And it's a good meal. I'll be satisfied. So that's it. These are my thoughts about Elayne. And honestly, I have to say, I actually think I like her a bit more for having had to think about her enough to make this video. So, thanks to my Discord member who suggested it. And speaking of Discord, I've mentioned it a few times in this video, so I love it. It's really fun. Join if you can. It's a great place to go and nerd out over the Wheel of Time. So link, as always, in the description below. And of course, if you're interested in supporting me and my channel, you can check out my Patreon. I am so grateful to the patrons that I have so far, and I'd love to have you join their ranks. So link, yet again, to my Patreon in the description below. And as always, like, subscribe, and stick around for the art credits. Bye!